Hey guys, this is Matt with Comax Gaming and welcome to another SourceMod tutorial. So before we start, I just wanted to say sorry for not uploading tutorials for like 2 weeks. It's only that I've been too busy and I just barely have time for this. So yeah, I have already written the code and I'm just gonna go through it. It's kind of easy, but not that easy. It has some tricks, so that's what I want to point out today. We're gonna do array functions, which is also known as ADT arrays, and it's like an array, but it's better because it can change its size dynamically and it's global. So yeah, it's kind of slower, however, but you're not gonna notice any difference. So, and it's easier to use. That's why it is important. So let's get started with this because I don't want to waste more time. So as you can see here, I have first of all a handle, which is global, right? And then I have an index. Now we're not gonna go much into the index because we don't need it right now, but it is necessary. I want to go into the handle itself because this is what's going to contain the array. So once we jump here, I just reg some server CMDs, to test it, and then I do the following instruction. I set array, which is my global handle, to CreateArray. Now CreateArray, and I completely, there we go. CreateArray, as you can see, creates a dynamic global cell array. So, and then it says what I said before. It is global and dynamic, and it's kind of slower, right? So yeah. The first argument is the block size, and the second argument is the start size. The initial size of the array is going to be like, I think it's like where we define the index, where it's going to start. So if we set it to from 1 to 25, it's going to be from 1 to 25. So yeah, you want to start at 0, at least that's what most people do. And the block size is it's going to be the length, or how many characters the strings inside this array are gonna have. So there, as you can see, there you have an example, but that example is kind of wrong. So imagine this: new string array, I don't know, 10, and here you have like, I don't know, 20, I don't know, 20. This 20 over here is gonna be the first argument, right? So it's gonna be the amount of characters you can have, and this is gonna be X always, because since it's dynamic, it's gonna change when you put a value in it. So yeah, pretty easy to create. So just put one argument always, and that argument is gonna be how many characters you want your strings to be, or at least the maximum size. So the first command I defined or extended is the getArraySize command. GetArraySize, as you probably imagined, gets the array size. Since this is dynamic, it's going to get how many items or values this array contains right now in the moment you execute that command. So imagine that we have one value in it. This is going to return 1, and so on, 2, 2, 3, 3. So yeah, always you need to put the handle in there as an argument. The second command is the store command. Now the store command is what inserts value inside. Now this is kind of tricky, so pay attention here. As you can see, I define the first argument and I get the first argument, which is going to be the thing I want to store. And for that I'm going to bring my console, and Valve is spamming me with that shit. Okay, So the command is store. The first argument is the string that I want to store, so I'm gonna just store hello, and then nothing else. As you can see, it says data inserted at index 1. It should say index 0, but index 0 is already taken because I was testing. As you can see, if I type retrieve 0, it's gonna get the information or the stuff I saved at the index 0, which is something I did before, so yeah, don't even worry. So now if I type retrieve 1, it's gonna say hello, which is the thing I typed. So yeah, if we take a look at the code, I say if the argument equals 1, meaning if I only typed one thing after the command name, then I want to get that, and then I want to do the following. I just want to push array string, and this push array string is gonna return the index where the string was saved at. So that's why it said 1, and if we do another one like store hello, it's gonna insert at index 2. So this is gonna save it for us. I forget the name of this word, whatever. It's gonna store one after the other, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's a time saver for us. We don't have to go through a lot of for loops and if statements. So this is completely useful. The next thing I do here, if the arguments is not 1, I go here and declare argument 2 and get the second argument. Now the second argument is going to be the index I want to get. So for example, if I type hello, as you know, let me get it. So there we go. Okay, 2. As you know, in index 2 we have the value hello. So now I'm going to change it for hello lol, and this is index number 2. So if I type that, as you can see, it says data saved, and if I type retrieve 2, it's going to have that value now. So what I'm doing is overriding the content of that index. Now what happens if you try to override an index that doesn't exist or has not been assigned yet? Since this is dynamic, it doesn't exist as of now. For example, index 5 does not exist, but this is the retrieve and not the store. I want to modify the content saved at index 5, which does not exist, and that's what happens. We get an error. That's why we're gonna have index here. What index is gonna do is gonna provide us with the last index that was used. Yeah. So if we go here, we're gonna create a new variable, and we're gonna call it end, and it's gonna equal this actually. So here we want to put end, and you can see why in a second. So if end is greater than index, let's print to server error index out of bounds exception. And I don't know why I wrote it that way, but whatever. So yeah, and we're gonna return, right? Return plugin handled. Now if you don't get what this does, end is gonna be the integer value of the argument 2. So here we're checking if the index is greater than the index, the global index, which starts at 0, but then it adds 1 to it once we add a new value, and this should go here. Actually, not over there. There we go. Here. Then we want to throw some errors, right? Not before, only after. So yeah, imagine we put 5 here and this is at 3, then this is gonna happen. Otherwise it's just gonna do this code. So BRB. Okay, so we're gonna try the same thing. We're gonna type store something and index 10, for example. and it's gonna say error, index is out of bounds exception. Now since I restarted the server, 1 is also gonna be out of bounds, but that wasn't expected. And why? Is it at 1? Oh, it's at 1. Okay, so we need to start at -1 here, right? Because once we get here, it's gonna set it to 0, and the first one is always gonna be 0. So -1, 0, and so on. So yeah, if I type 0, actually it's gonna work. As you can see, data saved. So yeah, we want to start at -1 always. So yeah, I hope you understand this. It's very basic. So yeah, and here I tried to save an integer as a cell, but I failed miserably. So yeah, ignore that. And here is the retrieve command. How I get the information. So get cmd arg1, same as usual, and then get array string. The first argument is going to be the handle to the array. The second argument is going to be the index that we're looking at, and the buffer, right? Now here you also want to do the same thing that we did up here. You want to copy this and paste it here. That's why I made index global, right? Because I always want to have that value over there, and I always want to check for that, because we don't want to have a bunch of errors around our server, right? We just want to have a stable plugin that works correctly. So yeah, and if you want to save an integer, just save it as a string and then do a string to int conversion. For example, if you save 1 here, you just do string to int. Where is it in the command? For example, if this command were to work, which doesn't, we would just do SetArrayString blah 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 array, and the index is gonna be, well, whatever index, and the buffer is gonna be, well, the buffer, right? And the buffer is gonna be int to string, the argument 1. Wait, what? No, what the fuck? No, we want to save the argument 1 directly, because the argument 1 is already a string. So we save the argument 1, and in here, when we retrieve the content, here is when we want to convert it to an integer again, right? So I hope you understand that it's not that hard. And an amazing thing about this is that you can save an array inside an array. I don't know if you get that. To do so, you just simply type this: SetArrayArray. Of course, always the handle to the array, so ARR in my case, the index, and then the values. As you can see, values is that, you know, the brackets. So you can put anything in there, right? And then the buffer, which is not here. I don't know, why does it say buffer? What the heck? Okay. And if not set, it assumes the buffer size is equal to the block size. Otherwise, the size path is used. So what this means is you have to pass the size of the array you're inputting. So if I have a 32 vector, which is a single dimension array, we just put 32 in the final argument. So this would look like, I don't know, the index 1, for example, and the values, some array, hello, blah blah, and blah. That one has 3, so I'm just gonna type 3 over there. Simple as that. If you don't put it, it's gonna take this value as the default one, right? So yeah, block size. Come on, brosker. Yeah, block size. So if you don't put anything in there, it's gonna assume 32 is the maximum size. So if you're not gonna put anything that is more than 32, you're good to go. Or just put the number. And always push array array. when you're putting the first value, you always want to push, not set. Push. Then if you want to modify the value, then you set. But first of all, you push, and it works the same way as the other one. The only thing you don't need to put is the index. So yeah, one more thing, guys, I almost forget. This thing has an amazing function, which is like gorgeous. You can type FindStringInArray, and it's amazing. If you type that, you can put the array in the first argument, and then in the second argument the string you want to find. So here, for example, if you want to find poop, it's going to return the index that is taking that string. So this is going to save you time and lines, because if you don't use this, you'd have to use a for loop, another for loop, and so on and so forth, and it's so, I don't know, not cool. So yeah, that's why this is kind of useful. Now, I don't know if it has support for multi-dimensional arrays, but it is very cool. As you can see here, if I store it for the first time, I push, and then if I want to modify the value, I set. Okay. Now, if you want the source code for this, don't forget to private message me here on YouTube, and I'll be more than happy to give it to you. I hope that I can upload a video next week. My times are just so complicated right now. So yeah, I hope you guys understood this tutorial. It was kind of short, I know, but yeah, if you did, please rate it up. It really helps. And I'll see you next week. See ya.